And we are live. So, welcome to episode 132 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. Yes, I am the American Werewolf. 132, man. You haven't been on in a little bit since we did the Guilty Pleasures movies.
Yeah.
Where Patrick brought on all the movies he actually thought were 5-star movies. Somehow he thought that constituted a guilty pleasure, and he brought all the wrong movies.
Hey, that's a guilty pleasure to prove that you like quality.
In today's market, you may be absolutely fucking right. Works. Yeah. In today's Normieville, Patrick may have been onto something there.
Absolutely.
So in the house tonight, we've got making his triumphant return, John K. Alvarez, an old man without a country. So, this is just a green screen, and he's in there like, what was it, John Hurt in Contact when he goes up into the space station?
Yes.
He goes to live up there in with like zero. So, this is a zero gravity
ride.
Yeah, exactly. This is a zero gravity environment. The Hurts and the Alvarezes.
That'll be it, baby. Absolutely.
So, I remember we're coming to the end of the Summer of Crime, and I remember when we first started this, it seemed like a good idea, and by and large, we've gone through quite a few good movies.
Yeah.
We started with The Dark Knight, and that was a fucking humdinger. Mm-hmm. And then we went with Cinema Cities in Sydney for Hell or High Water, which is just one of the best fucking crime movies I've seen in a long fucking time. And then we went, we took off for the 4th of July week, but then we came back on the 20th. Then we went with Red Dragon.
There you go.
And that's a fucking serious movie. Fines and
that's the one I wanted to get. That's the one I wanted to get back for. If I had a shot, because I wanted to compare it to Manhunter.
It's a motherfucker of a movie, man. You got Keitel, you got Norton, you got Fiennes, you got Emily Watson, you got just everybody in there is fucking firing. And I always had the impression that movie, it's the first movie in the book series,
right?
The Will Graham, but unfortunately, it was the third movie in the movie releases. And I think people really weren't that crazy about Ridley Scott's Hannibal because they didn't necessarily want to see Clarice fight the patriarchy.
Right.
It was like Ray Liotta, and you're just like, wait, what? What's happening? Right. And they changed the ending, and so that was kind of a mess. But Red Dragon, I thought it was better than Hannibal, and I think Eric did too. Then we went on to Point Break. Oh, Jesus. And where Ryan was just cheering that Anthony Kiedis got shot in the foot. We had the
first wave.
Yeah, exactly. It was Gary Busey. And then we had to skip The King of New York because Rod is in his production, and maybe we'll get back to that before the month
ends. When that comes back, I'd like to do it with him.
Okay.
I love that movie.
I'll get on Rod today because I think this week he finishes his final show on the 15th.
Oh, good.
So that's Friday.
And Rod, congratulations, man.
Yeah. No, it's Monday. Monday is the final day. Yeah, and I've seen a couple pictures that he's posted on Facebook. It looks really good. And then after that, last week we went at it with Seven, which is a movie, the first movie that we've ever covered on this show twice. And Seven was one of those movies that we did at the very beginning. And so I thought with all the ums and ahs and the hemming and the hawing that occur with the show when you first get it started, it was a movie that deserved a larger panel.
I agree.
And so we got at it with that, and that was a good time. That brings us to today. And we've got this movie that just crosses so many fucking genres. It's a chase movie. It's a road movie, which is kind of the same, but not. It's a horror movie. It definitely has elements of horror.
Yep.
It's a crime story.
Yep.
It's a Western. It's and disagree with me at any point. It's
not
a
at all,
noir. No, it's got a bit of a noir thing going on there. Mm-hmm. It's got comedy.
Yeah.
And as I think, oh God, what was her name? The woman who played Carla Jean, Kelly McDonald said, mm-hmm. When you put all that together, that means it's a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And
I would even go so far, Mike, to say it's even a little bit of a love story between the two characters.
Yeah. And I definitely want to get into that. I liked I like Kelly McDonald, period.
So do I.
I think she held her own with everybody. In that movie.
And it was a big cast, too.
Yeah, and it was a big cast, and everybody was, again, firing, on all thrusters all the time. Mm-hmm. You had a movie with extreme violence, like any option is on the table here. Go ahead.
It was an extreme violence, but it was focused. It wasn't like scatter shots and taking out millions of people around you, except for like one or two scenes. It was like between two people or between, the one person and everything else. It was really like focused, made you concentrate on it. So when the violence hit, it really like punched you in the gut. I mean, the first time I saw that, the first time he used absolutely. I went, oh my God, because you didn't expect it. It really was, because you thought it was an oxygen tank or whatever.
Yeah. And the movie that we're talking about is the Coen Brothers' No Country for Old Men. Mm-hmm. So, which is based on the novel by one of my favorite authors of all time, Cormac McCarthy. I have so many books of his, and he's just a fucking genius. So if you're ready to go, shall we get it going?
Get on our horses and giddy up.
Boogie woogie.
Tell you, I missed that open.
Yeah, right. I had put something else together for a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? No, it's not as good as Josh's music.
Nice and even. Right through the door. Come on in.
Not a problem. So I got rid of that and brought back my original intro, and I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, this is a movie. It's got a good guy. It's got a bad guy. Mm-hmm. It's got a guy in between.
Yes.
And it's a really odd movie in that none of the three. And I just watched it before we went on because I do that. I'm the but I always feel like as the host I have to so that's my responsibility. The three main characters never meet.
Yeah.
They never meet. The good guy and the bad guy never meet. The good guy and the in-between guy, or the bad guy and the in-between guy, they never meet. And I was like, wow, I guess I hadn't picked up on that before. Like, at no point are they ever on the screen together.
Yeah.
It's like three separate paths that are going on here. And, all the people that are sort of, caught up in the periphery.
Right.
Of that. And that's just fucking genius.
Yeah. It's excellent storytelling.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's next level storytelling. This was I don't know if this it was a national bestseller. But this movie went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Mm-hmm. Deservedly so, and Lord knows I have my share of complaints against the Academy because I think they're just ridiculous most of the time. But they got it right here. Javier Bardem, won for best supporting. It might have been supporting, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, essentially, he just plays the devil.
Yeah.
He's the fucking devil.
Yes.
And it's just a perfect fucking performance because he plays a guy. I don't know how he manages to do it. It really is next level. And the only thing I'm thinking of, like, is those conversations we had about George C. Scott.
Yeah.
You know, although it's a different type of performance, but he really, well, he's doing a lot, but he's completely open.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. He's just completely open. He doesn't attempt at any time with subterfuge or anything to hide who he is. And yet at the same time, he's completely unknowable.
What amazed me about him the most is that when people were trying to guess what he was doing, from the very first time, the guy with the coin flip.
Yeah.
When they were questioning him, he was like, kind of like, why don't you understand me? I'm very simple. I love that he wasn't manic or screaming or, you know, over the top at all. And it's just all low key. Yeah. And he just had all, you know, it was a guy who was playing a chess game who had all the moves ready.
Yeah, he's just laser focused. And the one thing I love about that, and this was from McCarthy's book, he absolutely has no sense of humor. He has no sense of humor, and that just makes him chilling. Like there's no expression on his face that shows any sort of rapport or empathy or you know that you're sort of interact. He's just you know, and you're just like, this guy is fucking crazy.
He's what would we be if we didn't have like a soul or a spirit? He's kind of boom.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He's like the devil because he's showing you everything, but you're getting nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like talking to a wall or something like that. You know, it really is. And it's a masterful performance in my opinion. You've got three characters, and I didn't do any overlays for this because I didn't feel like I didn't grab any.
Okay.
But you've got Llewellyn Moss, played by Josh Brolin. And I thought Josh Brolin this was my first real introduction to Josh Brolin. He had done some other movies. He's in Guillermo del Toro's Mimic, where he has like a bit part. But this was my first real introduction to Brolin. And he plays Llewellyn, who's he's the guy in between.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a two-tour Vietnam veteran who's now living as a welder in West Texas. And he's got a pretty wife, but they're fucking poor.
Yes.
They're not poverty-stricken, but they're poor. He's got a pretty wife. She works at Walmart in the 80s. You know, so, way before, anybody knew what a Walmart was.
Exactly.
She was working at Walmart. They live in a trailer park. It really is a cliche, but
he was the guy that you hope got a break.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I mean, I watched it this time with an eye towards, reviewing, and it's obvious he wants better things for his wife.
Yeah.
He's a, kind of a rugged, sort of man's man kind of guy, but he's immoral. He's amoral.
Yeah.
The show starts off with him and he's hunting, and then suddenly he sort of stumbles into the Panhandle in West Texas, and he comes upon this drug deal that's just gone bad, and all these dead people are fucking everywhere.
Yep.
It's just dead people everywhere, and dead dogs, and cars are all shot up, and you can just tell somebody turned on somebody and started shooting, and then, they just kept shooting until everyone was dead. And his first reaction is just to sort of loot the scene.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, that's really fucking, like, he doesn't go for any help. He doesn't call the police. I mean, he finds a guy who's alive in the truck. Yeah. The man is begging for water. Yeah. And he picks his fucking pocket. He takes the ammunition out of the guy's pocket. This guy's gut shot in the desert, heat of fucking Texas, begging for water. He's like, I ain't got no water.
I got no water for you.
Yeah, very nonchalant, takes the gun, takes the clip of ammunition out of his pocket. And I'm like, you're kind of fucked up, man.
Yeah. It's not like you're going to use it. Yeah.
No, but I mean,
Yeah, but exactly. I agree with you on that. He was looking for an opportunity.
yeah,
You know,
he just
he's
stumbled
acting, he's
into it.
opportunistic in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what made it. I mean, when he stumbled across the money, and he just like there was no hesitation. Let's go. You know, I got it. We're out of here.
He goes to where he thinks, because he's asking that one guy who was shot, where's the last man? Where's the last man? There's got to be some money around here. He immediately goes into this mode.
Yeah.
Where he's just going to go for him. He's going to go for it. He's going all the way. And he finds this suitcase full of fucking $100 bills. It's like $2 million or something like that. Back in 1980. Even today, $2 million. And he takes the fucking money. But the show really sort of kicks off with the good guy, who's Sheriff Bell.
Yep.
Played by Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
And Tommy Lee Jones is just fantastic.
Yep.
As the sheriff, who is this sort of man who's at the end of his career. He's probably about 60 years old. Very salt of the earth kind of guy. I remember he said, when he was taking this role, he's like, I've played a lot of cops. And I've played a lot of cowboy cops, and I've played a lot of, Southern cops. And, he goes, I was, worried about being typecast. He goes, but if you're offered to get one of the lead roles in a Cormac McCarthy story, you don't turn that down.
Yeah, you take it.
Yeah. And clearly he's right there. And he's smart, but he's a country boy. Go ahead.
And it's weird too, because in a movie about different stories that are going, he's like the storyteller.
Yeah.
And I love that fact that he's the old cop who's seen it all and is willing to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And I love that as a character because he wasn't annoying.
No.
He wasn't like a know-it-all. It wasn't like, it was just his, I don't want to say, you said it the best, salt of the earth wisdom, that he has learned.
I feel that he was the moral center of the story.
Yep.
There was grounding in what he did and what he believed in. Just as this small town sheriff, who starts out the story telling you that he doesn't understand what the world is turning into. Which maybe you could believe for anybody once they reach a certain age. I'm 54 now, and that, I talk all the time about what the hell's going on here.
Yeah.
But he is seeing it through the lens of a law enforcement officer who's now he starts out that monologue where he's talking about extreme violence and that one kid who said he'd been planning to kill someone for as long as he could remember. Killed a 14-year-old girl.
Right.
And he's like, I don't, I can't figure out, what's going on here anymore.
Exactly.
And he starts out this one thing and he says, I don't want to push. He goes, the one thing I'm afraid of is pushing my chips forward and going out and meeting something I don't understand.
Right.
Which turns out to be exactly the one thing he fears as a veteran police officer is the one thing that actually happens to him in the movie.
And that was great foreshadowing, for them. You knew who he was, And I love the fact when they played the character himself as a performance-wise, he played him old and wasn't ashamed to play him old.
Yeah.
There's way too many people who get older and they still try to play like, okay, I'm supposed to be a character in my 60s, but I'll play him like a guy who's 30. No, you're a guy who's in your 60s. Play him that way.
Yeah, and he was proud of that age because with that age it brought experience, it brought wisdom, it brought leadership. Again,
respect.
he's respect. The people in that town respect him. He's a member of that community. And he's proud of all those things that those decades of service have brought him. So he doesn't shy away from it.
Exactly.
But at the same time, now he's being introduced, and you go right from the monologue to Anton Chigurh, who I said basically is the devil.
Yep.
And it's ironic that all the things that are happening in the story are happening to people that are younger than Tommy Lee Jones.
Right.
By about 20 years.
Right.
Which is just enough for a full generation gap. I would say a full generation gap, you could say, constitutes about 20 years.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree with that. You got these guys like Llewellyn and, Anton and, late 30s, somewhere in their 30s, maybe close to 40, this kind of thing. And the first thing you see Anton Chigurh do is murder a fucking police officer. He strangles him to death with his handcuffs. And just opens his throat up.
Yep.
And the blood is just flying everywhere. And the look on Chigurh's face when he's doing it is just it's silent, but it's just fucking crazed.
It was a matter of fact. Like, I love the fact when they shot that scene and the deputies telling the sheriff from his department, oh, everything, it's we found him. It looked like something like an air tank, and you didn't even realize it, that you're seeing Chigurh work his way, the handcuffs around to the front.
Yeah.
And it was just so subtle about it.
Yeah.
And it was as easy as if I got up and walked across the room.
Yeah.
To get a cup of coffee. And I loved that. It wasn't like, it went against every other action movie for a villain. That he was just so smooth is the best way I can describe it.
The thing about is that, and we get to this in the end, is that Chigurh represents the next generation of criminal, the next generation of extreme criminal. And he just outmatches these small town people. They're absolutely no match for him whatsoever.
Right.
So, it's almost sort of a joke. You would almost think that, he let the officer arrest him. Just to go back there and strangle him. To, okay, sure, yeah, I'll let, It's like, I trapped the devil. I'm trapped.
Yeah, I'm trapped.
I'm trapped behind that door. Oh, no, not that, anything but that. And it's just, you see his real face in that moment when he's strangling that police officer. That this guy is just fucking evil, like capital fucking evil.
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded, quiet, professional. It's not like you said, where, it's a big shootout where he's escaping and struggling and the police officer's fighting back. He just takes that cop right out. Boom. Then he steals. He steals he proceeds to steal the cop car. I mean, what I wrote down in the notes was this man is just pure audacity.
Yes, I like that.
It's just pure fucking audacity. He kills a cop, then he steals the cop car, pulls another guy over with the cop car, and then pulls that steer weapon out. And just kills him, and then steals his car. And you're just like, he's just a force of nature.
And no remorse. No.
No,
nothing.
It's just,
no panic. No, it was just typical Tuesday.
You might as well have been, ordering a pizza.
Exactly.
Or something like that. Just drop it off.
Brilliantly played by Javier Bardem. He played that part so well.
This was also my first exposure to Javier Bardem. And what really made it for me was that fucking haircut.
Yes.
He had this 80s fucking haircut that was just, at this point now, almost 30 years out of place.
Yes.
And he just, like, everywhere he goes, like, he seems to be, he dresses to kind of blend in, but he just sticks out.
And it's amazing, as much as he sticks out, he's still in the background.
Yeah. He's still in the background until he's not.
Yeah, until he's not, until he steps into the light, as it were.
Yeah, and then by then it's too late for whoever it is.
Exactly.
It's too fucking late. Yeah. You've also got Carla Jean, who's played by Kelly MacDonald. Again, someone who had, I think, an extremely underrated part in this movie, holding her own with Josh Brolin, holding her own with Tommy Lee Jones, with Javier Bardem. Just, fantastic, strong performance, equal in her own way to all of them. Very strong, West Texas girl, I think Tommy Lee Jones said, you'd meet her in between takes and she'd be like this really sweet, Scottish, because she's from Glasgow.
Yeah.
And she totally knocked that West Texas accent out of the park. And he said, she would be this sweet little Scottish girl. And then, the cameras would start rolling and she would just turn into this tough West Texas woman, and just, holding her own with everybody else. It's just, it's a fantastic, fantastic film.
One of the things she did, and it amazed me the most, and again, it's going back to the subtlety of a lot of the performances.
Yeah.
When she was first talking to Josh Brolin, you could see the love in their eyes, even though she was like questioning where he was. There was that pure, where have you been? Thank God you're home.
It was like a fun little argument they were having, like a fun little exchange. And he's like, you don't need to know everything. She's like, well, I needed to know that, he's like, well, just keep it up. I'm going to take you right in the back there. And,
exactly.
And it's great. It wasn't
writing. Like doughy-eyed fawning over her or things like that, but you knew him and her, they cared for each other a lot.
Yeah, because these weren't overly emotional people.
Right.
Because this is a Cormac McCarthy novel, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. You don't have a lot of doughy-eyed people in a Cormac McCarthy novel, whether you're talking about The Road or The Sunset Limited, or you're talking about the Stonemason, or you're talking about the Border trilogy. That doesn't exist in his world. It's a very hard world, in a Cormac McCarthy novel. And, there's not a great deal of compassion or pity, or any of that. But there is love.
There is love.
There's love. This is a perfect example of a loving relationship in a Cormac McCarthy, no less authentic than a loving relationship you would see in, or probably a lot more authentic than you would see in some rom-com.
Yeah. More authentic than a Nicholas Sparks novel.
Yeah. This isn't Meg Ryan or whoever. Or, I don't even know who makes rom-coms. I don't even think they make rom-coms anymore.
They're still around.
Oh, they're still Hallmark. They must be Hallmark movies.
Yeah, they go to Hallmark a lot, or they try to make it more comedy than romance type deal.
Okay. Yeah. I've fallen out of touch. Who was it? It was Meg Ryan, and then there was.
Sandra Bullock did a lot of them.
And
Rachel McAdams.
I don't know who that is exactly.
Actually, if you ever
name sounds familiar.
If you saw Stephen King, Doctor Strange.
Oh, she was in. Okay, she's done a lot of them. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Right. She was in The Notebook, and after that, she started doing all the Nicholas Sparks books because everybody wanted her.
Oh, Jesus!
But hold on a second. A good one she did was
keep talking.
The Time Traveler's Wife. Her and Eric Bana. Actually, that was good.
The last rom-com, I can't believe this is fucking veering all over the place. The last rom-com that I think I enjoyed, and I actually own it. I own a few rom-coms. It's ones that I consider to be really fucking good. And then there are the tragic ones like The English Patient. I just love the fucking English Patient. Is A Good Year. It's a Ridley Scott movie with Russell Crowe.
Yep.
Where he inherits that vineyard from his uncle, who's
Albert Finney.
Albert Finney, Albert Finney is his fucking awesome uncle. Yeah.
Love that. I saw that on a whim, and I'm like, I'm so glad I stumbled into this movie.
Oh yeah, I got that on DVD, man.
Oh God,
yeah. That's a great movie. All right, so we got Eric here. Eric's in the house. Back to Cormac McCarthy and Grim Faces. Good evening, gentlemen. Well, good evening, Mike and John. Fuck you, Eric. I've seen this once and need to revisit it. I don't remember much. I saw it when it first came out. Yeah, man. This is currently streaming on HBO Max.
Right.
It's streaming on it, and I think if you have there's a subscription base, 2 levels of subscription base now for Hulu, but it might be on Hulu. Hold on a second. And he says, Jesus, I came in here wanting to hear about Tommy Lee Jones, and it's you guys gushing over rom-coms. Yeah, well, we talk about good movies. So, within every genre, there are always fucking good movies, no matter,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not.
I remember the days when Tommy Lee Jones did rom-coms.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. There was a movie with him called Backroads from the 80s with Sally Fields before she won Oscars.
Really?
A rom-com movie. Funnier than hell.
Okay.
Too. But
I could see him doing comedy really well. He's got a great sense of timing. He's got a great sense of timing.
I would like to see him. That's the other thing about this movie I liked about it a lot. There were a lot of funny moments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You spit out your coffee laughing at some of the comments.
His mother-in-law, Llewellyn's mother-in-law. Holy shit. It's... I said them 2 words, no and good. It's just like, Jesus Christ, woman.
Like, damn.
She's like, what about my mother? He's like, no one's going to mess with her. That fucking lady. No one's fucking.
That's right.
She might even run Javier Bardem off.
That's exactly it.
Bill said that he wanted to come on the show, but he's got band practice tonight. But what we came up with was this idea. He said that Llewellyn was dumb. And Llewellyn makes some fucking mistakes.
Yes, he does.
And Llewellyn, I'd want to hear Bill's reasons why. And I should have texted him just to insert this into the conversation. I don't know that he's dumb. He does make a really dumb mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he goes back. He brings the satchel of money home.
Yeah.
He brings the guns home that he found. He goes back to the trailer. And then in the middle of the night, he gets a stab of his conscience, realizing that he left that guy to die out there.
Right.
But it's really fucking weird. Like, well, I guess he can't call the police because...
Yeah. How did you know about it? It's a drug.
Yeah, he took the money. Yeah. But he decides to bring the guy a gallon of water.
Right.
And I'm like...
From the sink.
Yeah, and I'm like... What the fuck? Okay, because he's a Vietnam vet, and I guess he's seen people get shot, and he didn't want the man to die out there. But once he goes back out there, it's essentially over for Llewellyn.
Right. That's the tragic flaw.
Yeah, because not one, the Mexicans come after him, but they get his truck.
Right.
And they get his VIN number.
Yep.
And then from there, he's just like he's never going to escape from there. He doesn't realize that.
No.
But it's over.
Yeah. He's like what his wife said to Tommy Lee Jones when he goes, when people come at him, he stands up and moves.
Yeah.
He really felt he could overcome all this.
Yeah. And he
stayed one step ahead.
Yeah. And when we get later to talking about Woody Harrelson lays it out for him perfectly.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's like, you're not up for, we'll get to that in a minute, but
yeah,
he doesn't understand the depth of the trouble that he's in.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that, happens in a Cormac McCarthy novel, and especially in this novel, is that Llewellyn Moss is essentially, and his wife Carla Jean and all these people, Sheriff Bell, they're part of polite society.
Right.
They're poor, but they're not starving or crackheads or anything. They both got jobs. They're just, they're not rich people, but they're poor. They're
exactly.
Poor but they're part of functioning society.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens in this movie is that he steps through the sort of looking glass into this other world where there are just no rules.
Right.
He crosses like this invisible line, and
it's some people would say it's the real world that's out there, that the polite society is the more the
illusion
world, the illusion. Yes. And in this case that, everybody's out for everybody. We're being polite in that world that he stepped into. Well, spoiler alert, will get you killed.
Yeah.
Type deal.
Yeah.
If he didn't go back to do that one nice act,
Well, yes, that's true, because even with the radio, the tracker, the transponder that's in the bag,
right,
they never would have known where to start.
Right.
But once they got his name,
that's it,
and his address, and his place of, it's over. I mean, because he could have taken that, even with the transponder, he could have been anywhere on Earth. They never would have known where to start. But once he went back, and that just goes to show how he doesn't understand these rules, because he thinks he's playing some sort of civilized game. And it's not. It's not a game.
No. And it's not civilized either.
Yeah, and it's not civilized at all. These are savages.
That's right.
And the minute he does that, they start shooting him. They're chasing him in the truck. Even the fucking dog tries to kill him.
Kill him.
Yeah. That dog is like on him, like swimming, like.
Well, it's what the guy said. He goes, "Hey, we don't have to feed the dog tonight."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, so I mean, this is all just part of what it is to be in a Cormac McCarthy story. There's no niceness there. There's no, reprieve. There's no mercy.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes the movie fascinating to watch. Because, like I said, it's that laser focus action as opposed to making it all wild spread and keeping your attention with bells and whistles and guns going off. With that focus, you realize as the audience member, you're stepping into that world too.
Yeah.
You're being brought along for the ride, because there's a couple of times you're like, holy shit.
And even as a two-tour Vietnam veteran, he is outmatched.
Yep.
He is just outmatched because he doesn't understand the rules. He doesn't understand any of it.
Well, even in a war scenario, even with Vietnam that everybody was talking about, you did have rules. Sometimes they weren't followed, but you did have rules, and there's none. You're right.
Well, this is more what you would probably classify as total war.
Right.
Exactly. It's just total war. It's just scorched earth.
And that's where Javier Bardem, who's a member of that world,
that's where he lives.
He's comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's where he lives. He lives right in that place that, this man doesn't understand at all.
Main Street of hell.
Yeah, you get to the hotel, the gas station scene.
Oh, God.
And you get this little frumpy old man, that runs this gas station, and he doesn't understand who's standing across the counter from him.
And it was funny. Once he had an idea, he tried to close the store. Oh, we're closing.
Yeah, and it's too late. It's too late. He won't let him. Yeah, he won't let him go. He's not going to let him go. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about, do you? You're a bit deaf, aren't you? He's just, it's very cat and mouse. It's more like saber-toothed tiger and mouse. Yeah. He's just playing with them a little bit, and then, which is just a perfect scene. We get to the coin toss.
Oh, yeah.
And it is, I mean, he's just laughing at him. He's like, you married into this,
Yeah.
But this idea from the story that fate or destiny rules everything, which is Chigurh's philosophy.
Right.
It's not him doing it. It'll be the coin.
Yeah.
The coin traveled all this way.
Yeah.
From wherever it was, 1958 or whatever it was, has traveled 22 years to this counter right now to decide whether you live or die.
Right.
And the minute it works in the guy's favor, Javier Bardem lets him go.
Yep.
He's like, congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found it funny. I wondered what Tommy Lee Jones felt like to watch Javier Bardem play Two-Face. That type deal.
It's kind of a one face. I mean, with that,
I
would, if Marvel was doing something, adult based, man, I'd love to see Javier Bardem in a Marvel flick. Oh, geez, that would
Have
be
him play
fucking
Doctor
phenomenal.
Doom.
Oh man, wouldn't that be something?
That would be something, you know.
So
But
I mean,
he's
go
brilliant
ahead.
in this movie. No, he's just brilliant in this movie. You
Yeah,
talk about that scene as it's coming. He doesn't even realize that he's the not Javier, but the man who runs the store doesn't even realize he's in danger.
Yeah.
And you as the audience are going, "Run, you fool!" You know.
Yeah.
You know, you got to move.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant.
And the thing of it is that he wants to kill him over nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a killer.
Yeah.
He's just a straight up cold-blooded killer, and he will kill this man at a gas station for no reason.
Yeah, he's a shark.
No reason that would make sense to us.
Yeah, he's a shark.
Yeah.
You're in my waters.
Yeah, he does shark shit.
Yep.
You know? So yeah, you're gonna get got.
You're gonna get got.
You know, and then when he flips the coin, hey, everything's okay. Hey,
okay.
Don't put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
Don't put it in your pocket, or it will just become another coin.
Yep.
Which
that's
it is.
A lucky coin.
Yeah, that's your lucky coin.
Saved your life, man.
Yeah. The look on his face, you know, or it'll just get mixed in with the others and become a coin.
Yep.
Which it is.
Yeah.
It's just like this is. I mean, and that's Cormac McCarthy writing. This isn't screenwriting. You know for this sort of thing. Just fantastic. You go back to Sheriff Bell. And he and that deputy going out on horseback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you could just see how tired Bell is.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to. What Bell understands is what he does in that one scene where that guy comes around with his truck and the bed isn't tied down.
Right.
He's like, get your ass out of here. Just tie your shit down. That's the kind of thing. He doesn't want to be involved with this.
Yeah. He's seen enough, actually. He got right to, I mean, I love the fact they opened the movie with him talking about what he said and the teenage boy.
Yeah.
Getting ready to be, going to the death penalty type deal.
Yeah.
And they said, and it's like, he's like, I'm done. I don't want to see anymore. And you're forcing this on me.
Yeah. Because if I do, then he said, I'd have to join that world.
Right.
Which is what he refuses to do.
Right.
And instead that world comes to his town.
Right.
And,
exactly.
It's about, how he deals with it. I remember, and we're going to get into this movie in a couple of weeks, a history of violence.
Yes.
And I remember there's a scene in there where the local sheriff, realizing that these people are harassing Vigo and his wife in the diner, pull Ed Harris over. And Ed Harris is in that limo, and you can tell that sheriff, he's just some small town, sheriff, and this is big city organized crime coming in. Ed Harris is just not impressed with him at all. You can feel the contempt dripping off of Ed Harris. Towards he's like, oh, you're doing a great job, officer. Thank you so much. He's just so patronizing, and you can tell this cop is like, fuck, man, like, I don't need this. I'm an old man, Well,
it's like when Tommy Lee Jones in the movie says to the deputy, when the deputy says, it looks like a drug deal. It looks like a drug deal gone bad. And Tommy Lee Jones goes, well, if it's not, it'll do till the real one comes.
Yeah, till the real bad time
it's like, and it's the comments that he says that are just like, without saying I'm getting too old for this shit. He was letting it out that he was saying, I'm too old for this shit. And that's what I really loved about it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I would imagine somebody who started being a cop in 1940 something in a small West Texas town doesn't relate to this.
It's a whole new world.
It's and that's one of the themes in the the passage of time.
Right.
It's about the passage of time and how these people are, some people are getting left behind. And you realize at the end of the movie when he goes to talk to Ellis, who's in that wheelchair, that this has been a recurring thing for a long time.
Right.
In law enforcement. This has been a recurring. This, every generation experiences this. They reach that point where you're like, I can't keep up with this anymore.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of a revelation for him. He didn't really. He thought it was just happening to him.
Yeah, no, it's from dealing with my brother, who as you know was a cop.
Yeah.
Some of the officers who were with him going up in the ranks, whenever they stopped, they looked at it and said, "You know what? I've seen enough." Type deal. And this was a small town that there were policemen in or policewomen in.
Yeah.
But some of them were just going, I can't, man.
Well,
I can't do it anymore.
I've said this for a while now. If you're a police officer, probably everybody you meet over the course of your day is a fucking liar.
Probably.
I didn't realize I was speeding. No, I didn't see anything. No, I don't know what you're talking about. What
red light?
Yeah, exactly. From the smallest thing to the largest thing, probably everyone you meet is fucking lying to you in one form or another to some degree or another.
Yeah.
So, there must, how do you not get burnout? How do you not get PTSD? Even seeing things like car crashes, and things like that. It doesn't have to be a serial killer. It doesn't have to be Anton Chigurh.
It could be normal. It could be normal everyday things.
Yeah, it's just life. It's not Seven.
Right. And that's what makes this movie so cool, because when you see the normal things and everything else in this movie, when they dip into that darker side, it shakes them to their core.
Yeah.
People like the Tommy Lee Joneses and
the Ed Toms
Yeah. That's the other thing I liked about it. Even at night, this movie was very bright.
In a way.
In a way. There was the way the lighting was done, so you weren't hiding anything from the audience.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. And that's what I love that. We get to the first hotel.
Yeah.
And Llewellyn's like renting tent poles. When you think about it, he's so fucking outmatched.
Right.
He's going, and he's trying to stash it in the air conditioner, and you're just like, I'm watching this for maybe the third or fourth time, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's going to get his ass shot off. Like, he's so fucking outmatched, and he's using like the clothes rod from the from the closet to attach the coat hangers, and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? Just leave. Like, just get the fuck out of there. Why are you sticking around here?
Yeah. Run, son.
Yeah, and then Anton Chigurh just comes in and just fucking cleans out that fucking hotel with those Mexican guys.
Yep.
And he only manages to escape by fucking hitchhiking.
Yep. That's dumb. You shouldn't be hitchhiking. That's dangerous.
Yeah. You think, old man?
You
shit.
Think? Yeah.
And so this is the part that I start to get to, where I come back to what Bill was talking about, about him being dumb. At what point, like, what would you think? Is it, I got to get to the fucking police? Or do you just keep running? I mean, I imagine if you had $2 million and you walked into a police station and said, look, I stumbled. He really hasn't broken too many laws by now.
Right.
He kind of found the satchel of money and he grabbed it. Okay. Right. But now people are dying. Here's the fucking money. I didn't rob a bank or anything.
I don't know if it would say, and not to go against Bill, but not to say that he was dumb, but more like he was inexperienced.
And he was stubborn.
Yeah, and he was stubborn. Most people who are, not full of themselves, but confident in who they are, when they're stepping into a different world, they still keep thinking, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's so his bullheadedness may come across as being dumb, but also the fact that he was just out of his element.
He's out of his league. He's out of his league.
And it was a shame, because as you saw it, when he was coming up with good ideas, and you're like, oh shit, that worked. But then they're right there.
Yeah.
I mean, Woody Harrelson put it, because I found you in 3 hours.
Yeah, his good ideas provide him just enough to stay alive.
One step
barely
ahead.
Stay alive. Yeah, he like a half a second ahead.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it
Exactly.
buys him, you know, and you realize that you can't maintain like that.
Right.
And that's where we start to get introduced to the Wells character played by Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Who immediately, to me, watching it again today, came up as somebody who wasn't. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to last long. He's kind of dismissive. He's trying to be humorous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're going to get carved up in this Cormac McCarthy story.
Exactly.
Thinking you're going to, you know, one line your way through this. You know,
Now,
because.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go right ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say, as a performance-wise, from that point of view, Woody Harrelson in this movie is what the cliche is. There's no small parts, only, you know, small actors.
Yeah.
He ate this thing up when he was on that scene. He was chewing. He was, and the gentleman who was the accountant, the very first scene Woody Harrelson was in.
Oh, he's kind of like the crime. I think he was like a crime boss.
Yeah,
you know, for the syndicate. Yeah, he was good too.
He's the same one. He's been in Coen Brothers movies and TV shows and small parts, but when you put him on, it's like, like I would tell my acting students, grab a notebook, pick up a pen. This is a lesson. Write down what they're doing, because you know. And Woody Harrelson did the same thing. That could have been just a throwaway part that anybody could have walked through for a paycheck. Yeah. And he made it something, man.
And it is a perfect example of what you've always said for so many people in this movie who really don't do much, but make it fucking fascinating.
Yeah, exactly.
They're fascinating to watch. You're just like, wow, this is really good fucking acting. I mean, and we'll get to this in a second, but my favorite scene, I think, in the whole movie is when Chigurh and Wells finally meet in the hotel and they have that conversation across from the fucking hotel. God. And you're just like, wow, this is really fucking good. And he just tells him, do you have any fucking idea how crazy you are? You know, it's just like, but,
they're circling each other by sitting in chairs. That's what I loved.
Yeah, and you know Woody Harrelson's going to die.
Yep.
Because he's got the drop on him.
Yep.
Because, again, it's just audacity. But before we get to that, we get to the second hotel fight. And this time, Josh Brolin's got a gun. And now they're just having, like, this quiet fucking war in the middle of this fucking street. And the thing about it is, and especially in small towns, the whole town is fucking asleep.
Right.
Like, you get the impression it's probably not even, like, midnight or something like that. Yeah. But it's just the whole fucking town is dead.
Right.
And they're just going at it in the middle, and it's a great fucking action scene.
That's right.
You see Javier Bardem's feet appear at the door of Josh Brolin's hotel room, and then he goes and thinks to turn out the fucking light in the hallway.
Yes.
So you can't see him at all. And then all of a sudden that fucking lock shoots out.
Yep.
And hits him in the chest. He's like, oh, because it's with the shotgun, I guess. He's, you know, and whew.
And again, it's all focused. It's not like spread. He didn't like, you know, they didn't have him with the machine gun spraying through the door and, you know, everything. There was no people walking on the streets late in the day and getting shot. It made you concentrate on what was happening. And that's just brilliant storytelling between everybody.
The idea that, let's give credit to Llewellyn because he gets away from him twice.
Yeah. Yes,
he gets away from him twice, which is not an easy thing. Well, clearly it's not an easy thing, but that's almost like a miracle.
Yeah.
You know, so he is a rugged, you know, guy who can fight, you know, and he's willing to fight. He is outmatched, but he makes Javier Bardem work for it, man.
Mm-hmm. If Llewellyn grew up in Javier Bardem's world, the two of them would probably be, I wouldn't even say competitors. They'd be associates type deal.
Just he would have been like Wells.
The same way.
He would have been like Wells because Wells was a Vietnam veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Wells was a veteran. He's like, oh, you were in Vietnam? I was in Vietnam too. And like, you know, Brolin is like, what are we, buddies now or something?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
He would have been one of them.
Yeah,
he would have been
easily.
One of them. He just didn't have that level of, he didn't have that understanding of ruthlessness.
Exactly. And
who would?
You know,
only one of them. And
Yeah.
even Woody Harrelson, you know, when Woody Harrelson really only lasts like a day or two in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, because again, it's audacity.
Mhm.
He goes and has the shootout with Josh Brolin, and then the next day walks right back into the same fucking hotel room in the same hotel and kills Woody Harrelson, which is, for me, the best scene in the movie.
Yes, I agree. I
You
agree
know,
wholeheartedly. That was such
and-
a. That's the scene that you tell people you got to go see this movie.
Yeah.
You know, because that's one of the ones, and there were great scenes in this movie, but that scene right there between the two of them, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And Javier Bardem's got this smile on his face. You know, I know exactly what's going to happen with the case. It's going to be brought to me and placed at my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, wow, this guy is fucking crazy. Like it's like detached from reality, but not wrong at the same time. Like he sees things that you just don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that the first time Javier Bardem smiled throughout the movie?
It might have been.
I mean, I was just realizing when you said that, I'm like, yeah, he was smiling. I'm like, wait, I don't think he smiled in any other scene except for that one scene.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that at the beginning of the movie, he kills two of his own associates out in the desert for no reason.
Yep.
Just because he felt like it. He just shoots two of his own guys. He's just batshit.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just evil. He's just evil.
Oh.
Yeah. Perfect. Fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he gets away twice.
Yeah.
You know, I felt bad, and this is where I started to realize, because we're a little over an hour into the movie. When Josh, this is where I really start to realize that Josh Brolin isn't going to make it. Although I've seen it before, I know he's not going to make it. Is when he runs into those douchey college kids going over the border into Mexico. And that was a perfect example of a Cormac McCarthy story. This man's bleeding. He's fucked up.
Yep.
You know, he's sober, but you can tell you just run into a man who's hurt.
Right.
These guys want money from him.
Right.
They want $500 for his coat. You know, let me feel the money. Put the money in my hand. Like there's, I mean, and these are kids.
Right.
You know, and they just, the one guy has some compassion and everybody else just kind of stares at him and ignores him.
Right.
He gives him the $500 and he says, let me have that beer. And he goes, the guy looks at him and he goes, how much for it? He's like, what the fuck? You know, and this is like,
this is the world.
Yeah. This is the world that he stepped into now.
And as cliche, as cliche as it might have been, I would have loved to have seen Javier Bardem run into the same college students.
He would have killed them all.
I know.
He would have shot all of them. Yeah.
After I saw them, I'm like, boy, I never wanted somebody to die so much in a movie.
They were awful. They were just awful, like these scavengers.
Yeah.
You know, they were just scavengers.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, a lot of Cormac McCarthy, you know, there's not optimism. You know, moral people, you know, are just, you know, being confronted with, you know, evil and, you know, the worst of human nature. That's a common thing that runs through McCarthy. You know, and that just beneath the surface, everything is really kind of lawless. Right. You know, and violence and like dread rule everything.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the world that he lives in, and he doesn't know how to function.
Right.
In that.
Because he's from polite society.
He's a welder who lives in a trailer park with his pretty wife.
Right.
You know, drinking beer and watching TV.
Exactly. You know? That's it.
It's rough stuff.
And that's what burns out Tommy Lee Jones. You know, the same seeing that coming along and it being more experienced at saying it.
Yeah.
You know, he's just like, what have we become?
Yeah, and he's Tommy Lee Jones is having that conversation because we get to Wells meeting Llewellyn, and he's like, "You're just a guy who found that fucking sack. Like, you have no idea what you're up against here. You know, call me at this." And then he walks over there and finds the satchel right there.
Right.
but then Javier Bardem kills him.
Right.
He doesn't even want him to take it to him because they're going to place it at Sugar's feet.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, you're clearly got your own thing going here.
Get set, baby.
But when Tommy Lee Jones is in that diner and his deputy is talking to him and he's reading that story about the people that were torturing senior citizens, and he's just like, this is all out war. Mm-hmm. The only thing that made people notice there was a naked old man who managed to get away, and he had like a dog collar around his neck. That's what it took people. That's what it took to get people to notice that something fucked up was happening right there in your neighborhood.
Not that they were burying people, in their front yard.
Yeah, torturing and burying people and cashing their Social Security checks, but that a man had to escape and be naked and run down the street with a dog collar.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the one of the real twists of the movie occurs. Llewellyn dies. He makes it to that third hotel.
Yep.
And something sketchy is going on because he runs into that woman, at the pool. You're just like, he's gonna
having a beer means just having a beer.
Yeah, like sure it does, lady. Okay, yeah, I heard that before. But suddenly he's dead. And it's not by Sugar.
Yeah.
It's by these outside Mexicans who are also looking for the money because the syndicate is also out to, I guess, get Sugar.
Right.
Because he's he's so far off the fucking reservation. I guess he's like some sort of freelancer.
Yep.
And Llewellyn dies.
And it was funny because you didn't see it.
No.
And part of me was going, good, because I don't think I wanted to see it, because I liked Llewellyn.
Yeah.
If you ever read or saw the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid,
yeah.
The guy who wrote the movie turned around and said, we made them so lovable, but they die at the end.
Yeah, you couldn't watch them die.
Never saw them die.
Yeah.
You heard it and everything else, but he said, we just couldn't do it. We couldn't show them getting killed.
Yeah, the hole in the wall again.
When I saw him laying on the ground, I went, son of a bitch.
I remember in that movie where he gets into that knife fight with that big fucking guy. He goes, well, first of all, let's go over the rules. What do you mean rules? There's no rules in a knife fight. Oh, okay. Count off. 1, 2, 3. Bam, and he just kicks him right in the balls. And that one guy goes, I was rooting for you, Butch, the whole time. He goes, I know you were, Harvey. Don't worry about it.
You snub nose. I love that movie.
Oh,
but the thing about it was in that same scene when Luann's wife shows up.
Yeah.
And Tommy Lee Jones just looks at her and everything else. And oh my God.
Because
that whole love story thing I was talking about. It crushed me.
Well, it's also that, but it's also that he's failed to protect.
Yeah.
His guy, he wasn't out to bust Llewellyn. He wanted to bring him in.
Yeah.
So he could. Yeah, he wanted to save him. And it's how these small towns are. Everybody knows everybody. It's this kind of thing. That's his guy. He wanted to save him. And this fucked up anarchy, chaos, evil fucking chaos, chaotic evil is just ate him up.
Exactly.
Just ate him up, because he thought he could, and it's like Jurassic Park where that guy gets killed by the velociraptor. He's looking ahead and then that other thing comes from the side.
Yeah.
And it's over with.
And I love the fact that Tommy Lee Jones, the minute he saw the truck, or the character, the minute he saw the truck pull out, he started speeding up because he knew some shit. He knew what it was.
Yeah.
And that's because I think that also adds to Tommy Lee's, the sheriff's character of wanting to leave because he's aware of now what's going on.
Yeah.
He can just see the action and he's going into that world again.
Yeah.
Type deal. I mean, that scene, as simple as it was, is very layered. Everything that was going on.
Yeah. And just this is what I've been saying. Give me a story.
Yeah.
I'm 53.
This is a hell of a story.
Yeah, I'm 53. Give me a fucking story.
Exactly.
Character is king.
That's
You
it.
know, and so, you know, here we are, you know, talking about it, and fuck, I mean, what a great fucking film.
And
You know,
just when you thought it was over.
yeah. And then, well, I mean, and then, you know, there's the diner scene between Tommy Lee Jones, Ed Tom, and the other deputy.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just talking about like what the hell is going on in the world anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and there's, they're talking about Javier Bardem, and he's like, that one sheriff is like, who the hell would do such a thing? Like, how do you defend against that?
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
It's the thing that you can't prepare for.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's what Ellis tells him. You can't stop what's coming.
Right.
When he gets to that point, you know, and he realizes, he's like, yeah, this is, you can't stop what's coming. And then we get to the third hotel scene.
Yep.
Which fucking gripped me, man. I mean, you know, and it was the first time when he goes back to where Llewellyn has been killed.
Right.
And he can see that the fucking door lock has been shot out.
Right.
And he knows he's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this, I mean, and that is perfect, like what you're saying about doing nothing and making it look fucking fascinating, where he's just staring at that door lock for like 10 seconds, you know, trying to, do I want to go through this fucking door? You know, and it felt like so many things hinged on what was going to, like, what his character was going to be, you know, whether he went through there or not. And maybe you wouldn't have found fault, but you probably would have. And then you see him pull the fucking 45 out, and you're like, he's going through that fucking door.
Yep.
You know, and he swallows, and you can see, you know, like his throat's working because he's trying to, you know, silently screw up the courage to go through there. And you can see Shigur's on the other side, but somehow Shigur gets away.
Yeah.
Somehow Shigur gets away, and they never, that's as close as, well, any two living people in the, you know, the main characters ever come to interacting.
And when that movie came out, when it first came out, I know so many people who complained about it, that Tommy Lee Jones never went head to head against Shigur. And I'm like, why? There's a really good chance Tommy Lee Jones' character would be dead. As good as he was, Shigur would have been colder. You know.
Hey, P-Brain, it's not a fucking action movie.
Right.
It's not an action movie.
That's just something, you know, that's what.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. Sometimes a movie that I cover, and they're like, well, nothing happened. I'm like, it's not a fucking action movie.
Well, you said this guy also wrote the book, The Border, right?
The Border trilogy.
Yeah.
There's 3 books in the Border trilogy.
I remember when they made the one into a movie with Jack Nicholson.
No. That's a different movie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a different movie
with Jack Nicholson, when it was the same thing. He never got to meet the
villain.
The villain head on, and he was like, "I know it should have happened." I know, and the villain was killed by a random car accident.
Okay.
And
that's The Pledge.
Yeah, The Pledge. That's it.
Oh, that's a fucked up movie.
Yeah, but to me it was the same thing. When people say, "But he never got to meet," I'm like, my brother, again, going back to my brother, the cop, when he was watching it with me, turned around and goes, sometimes you don't.
No.
You know, it's just you don't. You know, they'll be chasing after a guy and everything else, and all of a sudden, like, they'll get hit, you know, a truck will go through a light and they'll hit them or something. Sometimes you don't get that comeuppance.
I can't watch that movie. It's just so fucking bleak because of how it ends.
Exactly.
Because the woman that he's with realizes that he kind of was using the little girl as bait.
Yep.
And she abandons him, and she's just like, fuck off. You know, you just tried to get my kid killed. And then I think he just descends into mental illness, doesn't he? Because he had early onset for schizophrenia.
Because he kept going. I know I'm right. He figured it all out, and then the guy never showed up because he was killed by a random driver.
Yeah, and it costs him everything.
Yeah,
it costs him everything.
That to me is very similar to this ending. You don't the two never meet.
No.
And none of them ever. What if they met? I said, well, how do you know Tommy Lee Jones would win?
Yeah.
You know, you're speaking from their world of nice guys and, you know, gentlemen's agreements. And Javier Bardem Would have shot him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think the only thing that might have made it slightly equal, I think, unlike Llewellyn, Ed Tom knew exactly what it was that
what he was stepping into.
Yeah, he knew what he was stepping into. So he pulled that gun. He
That's
cocked the fucking hammer back. Yeah, and he went through the door. But that is just, I mean, nothing happens. It's a guy staring at a fucking door.
Yep.
And then opening the door. And you're just on the edge of your seat. And you're like,
because you're seeing the wheels turn, man.
This is fucking phenomenal.
Oh.
And, you know, Tommy Lee Jones is like, he's got that leathery face.
Yep.
You know, and so it's not the most overtly expressive thing.
Right.
But what he's done, especially here, is extremely subtle.
Yep.
It's subtly. And, you know, like we talked about with the Changeling, where George C. Scott's in the phone booth.
Yeah.
You know, and he sees the fucking car coming and he can't do nothing. He just watched his wife and kid get killed. And like his face just barely, because, you know, like I said, it looked like God just punched him in the liver as hard as he possibly could. And he can't do anything, you know?
He brings the emotion without like having to put it on his face. There's a lot of people who do a lot of, and don't get me wrong, I don't mind a little overacting when it comes to certain things, but there's other people that go, what was the one line? Actually, it was, Jim Carrey, who turned around and said it to a guy who was imitating Jim Carrey. And he said, boy, this guy, his face mugs so much he needs a handle, you know. And Tommy Lee Jones and Clint Eastwood can do the same thing.
Yeah.
With that same warning face, you can tell what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And it also adds with the story you just saw, because you're thinking the same thing. Oh, fuck. Am I going in or is he not? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's what works in this movie.
And that's that's another thing about this movie is that the bad guy wins, essentially.
Yeah.
He gets the money.
He gets the money.
Now, in the book, he gets the money and he returns it and all is forgiven.
Right.
So all they really give a fuck about is the $2 million.
Right.
You know, you give me the money. Okay, I think Llewellyn spent $1,000 or something like that, you know? And so, yeah, and it's, you know, fine. You killed a couple of people. Who cares? They're all fucking replaceable because we're in hell. There's no shortage of, you know, demons, you know, there's no shortage of evil fucks that we can recruit. But yeah, I mean, he gets away. And then, you know, the next scene is that you're at Ellis's house. And I love Ellis.
Yeah.
Ellis was just fucking great as this old man, and his hair's in patches.
Yep.
And he's in a wheelchair, but he's just, you know, and it's like, you want some coffee? Yeah, sure. And he looks down and he goes, how old is this coffee? And he's like, try to make a fresh pot every week or not, even if I finish it or not.
Fresh pot every week. And in my head, I
cats all over the place.
Yeah.
He's got like
yours. Some of them are, others are strays. I love that line.
Yeah, and he goes, some of them are just fucking outlaws, you know? Yeah. You're just like, Jesus Christ. All right, but Ellis sets him straight.
Yeah.
You know, because he's remorseful and he feels guilty and he feels overmatched. And in the book, there's a flashback to Tommy Lee Jones, Ed Tom. He's a World War II veteran. Have you read this book?
No, I haven't read the book, but now I want to.
If you ever get a chance. Next time I see, you know, if we plan ahead, I'll bring some books out to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's a World War II vet, and something happens where his entire unit gets badly injured. And he is the only one, for some reason, that just is without a scratch. And the Germans are coming. And I think his entire unit, realizing that they're all going to die, gives him permission to just run. Right. They're like, get out of here. Like, you can't save us because what's coming is too big for you, but you can save yourself.
Right.
You know, we'll do what we can, but, you know, it's over. And he runs, and that's what happens. He survives. And, you know, nobody finds fault because, you know, it's war, and that's what they told him to do. Get out of here. But he's carried that guilt with him.
Exactly.
All his life to become a police officer where he could protect people And then this comes in the Ellis story, part of the story in the book. He admits that because he had never. I don't think he had ever admitted it to someone.
Right.
And he says, now at the end of my career, I'm running again.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to face this Chigurh guy. He realizes he's out of his league.
Right.
And Ellis
overpowered.
Yeah, and he realizes, it would be pointless. I could do it on principle, but
exactly.
There's nothing I could, really do here. And Ellis sets him straight in the way that Ellis sets him straight in the movie. And he talks about, how, he's been paralyzed by someone who got shot and is now in Angola. So this job has chewed him up. They tell the story of Uncle Mac. Uncle Mac, back in the century, 50, 60, or 75 years ago, just had 4 guys roll up on his house for no fucking reason and just shoot him and kill him. And so this has been a recurring thing in this land. It isn't something that's been happening to him. And he tells him, it ain't all on you. He's like, that's vanity. It ain't all waiting on you. This has been happening for a long time. It's going to continue to happen. Now, I think in the book, the sheriff does attempt to look for Chigurh for a long time, but never finds him. And then he just retired.
And that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Kaiser Soze without saying.
Yeah,
Kaiser
he is.
Soze.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's Kaiser Soze. He's like a fucking puff of smoke.
No, when Tommy Lee Jones, I believe, called him in the movie a ghost.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's like he is. He's just, and now that he's there, when it's done, he's gone.
But not before, even though he returns the money in the book to the mafia, he does double back for Carla Jean.
Yeah.
That's not something that happens at the request of the syndicate. That's just something he does on his own. He keeps his word that, you ran from me, so now I'm going to schwack your wife. And it starts out like it does in the movie where she won't call it. She won't call the coin toss. But he sort of explains to her what his system is and, what he really believes. And he's like, this is your fault.
Yeah.
If you had not married a man who would steal from a syndicate, you would still be fucking alive today. This is you didn't realize it back then, but you went against your mother and probably all these people, and now here you are. People told you not to marry this man. This guy stole from a syndicate. He cut it. He refused to cut a deal to save your life. This is your fault. You're getting schwacked, and she has to admit it to herself before she goes, which she does.
Right.
This is my fault.
In the movie, when I saw it, it was like when he stepped out of the house, I went, oh, I wonder if he let her go. Like the coin was, and then but when he wiped his shoes.
He checks the bottom of his shoes.
And I went, no, he fucking killed her.
That's just great.
And I was like, God, fuck.
He's so calm. He slowly lifts the one shoe up. Slowly lifts the other shoe up.
Making sure I'm clean. I'm not leaving
sure. Did I step in any of that shit? No. All right.
Oh
fine.
My God. Because when I saw that, I'm like, oh fuck. I like her.
And even when he gets in the accident, and the kids try to help him, and he gives them the money. He's like, Mister, I don't mind helping somebody out. You can have my shirt. Little kid. He's like, no, just take it. Take it. You didn't see me. They're like, okay. Even there a little bit, they've been corrupted.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking that one kid who took the money.
Yeah.
He was going to go into it eventually.
Well, I don't know if that's the case necessarily, but he's been, when we talked about that when we talked about Seven, how, like once the evil kind of touches you, you can't get it off. It's like stuck on the bottom. Yeah, it's stuck on the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah.
And you can't get it. And even then, and then that other kid is like, well, you're going to give me some of that money. What? So like everybody.
So mine, right?
Everybody's just got a little bit of that bottom feeder.
Oh, gotcha.
Everybody.
It's always there, man. It's always there.
And all you need is for somebody, it is like I Trapped the Devil. 99.9%, is just everyday shit. But that 0.1% is just influence.
Well,
to meet him in passing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at it. If you look at it, you were talking about. You said before one of the shows you did for this series was The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
that's exactly what the Joker character was trying to put. We're all that dark.
Yeah,
we can all be. It's right under the surface, man.
Yeah, you turn out the lights, you scare people a little bit, you shake, give them a really hard fucking shake, and
yeah. But that's the point. There's a lot of people who keep saying, what was it? I forget who. I'm trying to remember which philosopher, or it was Freud, who turned around and said, human society or mankind is literally just two bad days of going back to being in the jungle.
Sounds like something being in the trees. Would say.
Because it's like, all we need is just 2 bad days and that's it. We're back into, forget it. The society doesn't work.
What we, and I don't want to talk about it on here openly, but what I talked about planning for January.
Yes.
And the perfect example of that is The Road. Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
Exactly.
It doesn't take much.
It doesn't take
much. It doesn't take much.
Just Christ, Indiana Jones. I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark. When the one guy's talking to him, goes, all I got to do is just nudge you, and you're just like,
yeah. Now you're playing nasty.
But that's the point. I mean, this has been something that's been discussed and presented, not as good as I think as No Country for Old Men, but that how much are we really how polite are we in a society?
Yeah,
are we that close to
and that there are a lot of flimsy structures,
right,
that keep polite society in place,
right?
Because you go to the diner and the waitress's name and she's bringing you coffee and you're having waffles and you're talking to your colleagues and you go to work and you're drinking beer on the couch with your wife and talking to her about your day, but how firm is that really?
Right?
Is that really?
Really?
And so
I can easily. Heck, man, go right to the Twilight Zone. The monsters come out on Mayberry Street.
Yeah.
When they just shut down everything, and all of a sudden we talked about it. We were saying the last time I was on was one of the list, and on one of my lists, and it was called a movie called The Layer Cake.
Oh yeah, with Daniel Craig.
Yeah, and it was funny because when I was watching this and seeing Javier Bardem, sorry about that, belch there when I was talking.
Oh.
It reminded me of that world because that's what Daniel Craig was. He was in that world, but saying, no, I can only step out. And as the movie went on, he got further and further pulled in. They said, you're not going anywhere. Who are you kidding? As the one guy, I can never remember the actor's name, but he played, he took over Dumbledore for the third movie.
Oh, Jesus. I always forget his name. Ryan, I know it. Ryan knows everybody's name.
But he turned around and he was like a mafia don.
Okay.
And he looked at Daniel Craig, you're not leaving. You're too good at this. Yeah. You're no way in hell you're leaving. Yeah. But that whole thing of where we're going, are we really as good as we think we are? Are we,
And it reinforces the way that the movie starts by the sheriff saying, if I go out there and encounter this and acknowledge it, then I'm going to have to join that world.
Right.
That evil is going to touch me. It's going to get on my skin too. It's going to get under my skin too. It's going to get under the bottom of my shoe, as well. And he manages to avoid that. Yep. Remain true to who he is, which brings us to the end of the movie where we see him now in retirement.
Yep.
And
not knowing what to do.
Yeah, getting on his wife's nerves because he suddenly has all this time to fill, and like a lot of guys, they don't do well in retirement because they don't make a plan.
Right.
retirement is going to be, hey, I'm just going to stay home all day. And suddenly, after like 40 years, your wife has this person in the house, and
Yep.
like, what the fuck are you doing here? This sort of thing. But he starts to talk about those two dreams that he has.
Right.
And the one that got me actually was the first one, where he's talking there about his father. And the one, of course, and if you want to talk about that, is the second one is the one where he sees his father.
Right.
And, his father's, in the cold and, going ahead to make a fire. And, he realizes at some point he's going to meet his father because now he's retired. He's in that definite aging stage of living.
Of life. Yeah.
Yeah, of life, and, he's not working anymore. So, it's closer. But the one that got me was the one where he meets his father in town. And he says his father, he goes, I'm older by 20 years than my father ever was. And I think I'm going to meet him in town because he's going to give me some money.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I thought of his father as Llewellyn.
Yeah.
This man who was 20 years younger than him that's supposed to give him this money.
Right.
Except he sees him now. That's just my, off the cuff.
No, I agree. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. Instead, he sees him in this dream as his father.
Right.
Who, that maybe that's just the way his subconscious interprets it.
Exactly.
But that, this younger man is supposed, it's just this quick thing that he says, the one he focuses on is the second one. But in the, and then,
I agree. No, I agree with you on that. When I heard that, I'm like, you're thinking of Llewellyn.
He still carries that guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he's going to be okay with it, because he's had the discussion with, Ellis and, these sorts of things. And he's, he sort of unburdened himself, but, it's not, it's a Cormac McCarthy story.
Yeah. Oh, and when he was talking about his father going in the dark and lighting the fire, and he goes, and I'll join him. Yeah. He's taking that guilt to the grave. He knows it. He knows it's going to, because he has to step into the darkness eventually.
Yeah. And the wonderful thing about this, it's not the kind of movie that warrants a sequel.
Thank God.
It's a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
It's beautifully told. They got it excellent the first time.
Yep.
And you can just leave it alone. And I mean, here we are. It's 2007. And so this is 15 years later, and we're covering it. So.
And people do, that movie gets referenced a lot in other films or stuff like that, like the coin flip. It's amazing. It was such an amazing movie that I have to admit, each time I see it, I still get surprised at it.
It's not a movie. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, to me, it reminded me of when you do an independent movie where you don't have the money or the budget to like I keep going back to the fact that it wasn't broad violence. It was very focused. You could tell this was an independent movie, even though it was the Coen brothers who could get the money, but they didn't. They kept it right, and it makes you watch.
Yeah.
And not just that, but observe what was going on.
And it's against the type. It's against type for the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
It's not Raising Arizona. It's not Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's not any of the typical movies that you get from the Coen brothers that have serious moments, but largely tend to be comedic.
Yeah.
This is a Cormac because they adapted a Cormac.
It reminded me a bit of like they went back to Blood Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. That type deal. And when they told that story. Because I think the Coen brothers go where the story is. They're smart enough to let the story be told and not try to change it. They could have easily made this quirky, and they didn't.
Yeah, and well, I don't think I think McCarthy would have killed him with a typewriter or something like that.
Of course,
beat their heads in. Didn't one of the Coen brothers just do a singular movie? I can't remember which one it was.
I'm trying. Yeah, he did one
about a year or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
The last one I know they've done was Macbeth.
That was it. The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah.
The Tragedy of Macbeth, which I still haven't seen. I don't have Apple TV. Apple TV doesn't seem to release physical media.
Yeah,
you can't buy it.
Right.
And I couldn't find it except for 50 miles away when it was on big screen. So
right.
Okay, there you go.
Not
so
surprising.
Yeah. Around here, no, I'm not surprised at all.
Not surprised at all. But
So
we'll have 3 movies with Thor.
Of course, it'll play 12 times.
Oh my God!
Hemsworth
shows his butt.
Yeah, oh Jesus Christ!
I didn't see the movie. I'm just going back to
no, neither did I. Yeah, but I've seen the the reviews and things like that. But that film, I think in the first week, after the first week dropped off, it still made 700 million.
Oh yeah,
but it's made 700 million. But it dropped off 67% in the first week. Then in the third week, it dropped off another 48%.
Yep.
So these things are like, I mean, I guess that's what these movies.
I will be brutally honest. The biggest surprise to me this summer was how well Maverick did.
It was fucking fun.
I was expecting it to do a good job at the box office, but when I keep seeing it truck along, I'm going, God damn.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
It's so good. It's so good.
I know. That's why I'm like
so fucking good.
I told somebody when there was an actress I worked with last summer who turned around and went, "Is it really bad that I saw Maverick and actually started crying at the end, or was it patriotic?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't seen it yet."
It's to me, it's an indicator that people are starved for straightforward heroism. Mm-hmm. I think people are tired of, though maybe you're not seeing it on social media. I think people are tired of anti-heroes. People are tired of nihilism. What started in the 90s, whether we realized it or not with Tarantino and, was kind of bringing in and, all these guys, Kevin Smith and Spike Lee and, all these guys, these nihilistic sort of stories. I think they're tired of, especially over the past 10 years, these movies where every movie has to challenge gender norms.
Right.
I think you give people a simple, heroic story and they just go apeshit.
And that's what, for lack of a better term, I don't want to say puts butts in the seats, but it's true. Because we talked about this before, no one has been doing those type of heroic films.
They're very hard to get made.
They rarely get made.
It's very hard to get made. You have to have juice like a Tom Cruise.
Yep.
To get that sort of thing made nowadays. Everything is just reimagined now, like everything.
Yeah. I will be honest, when I first saw the preview for Maverick, and this was before COVID.
Yeah, I remember
rolled
that.
my eyes. Because I was
really?
Like, really? Tom Cruise is going to try to get in the cockpit again? But then when I started seeing more and reading more about it, I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be huge.
I went to see it with Todd. Todd and I went to go see it, and I'm like, this is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like what, 1.3 billion now?
Yep.
It's past Jurassic World Dominion or Jurassic World domestically.
Yep.
It's the biggest movie Paramount's ever had.
Yeah. And it's funny because there's a bunch of actor friends of mine going, I thought it would do well. I didn't think it was going to do this well. I'll be honest.
It's really fucking. If you get a chance to see it on the screen, please.
I would love to. I mean, I'm kicking myself for not doing it because I'm like, God damn it.
It's still playing. It's still playing if you get out there. All right. Here's the thing I do now on the show, new since you've been back. I ask people to rate the movie.
Oh, okay.
So, in your opinion, so on a scale of 1 to 5, 0 being it's just flatlined, I want my 2 hours back, to 5 being it was fucking perfect,
right?
And allowing for half stars, so 2.5, 3.5.
Gotcha.
Where would you? No wrong answers. Where would you rate the movie?
I would rate it a surprisingly 3.7.
Okay.
Wait. I forgot. I screwed up your thing.
It's half stars. Half stars.
Oh, I got it. I would go with no. Actually, I undercut it, but I was going to go. I would give it a 4.
4.
I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
Only because, and I hate to admit it, there was at one point in time I was watching, I looked at my watch. Okay. And to me that was, but was it a perfect movie? No, but it was close. I thoroughly was, mesmerized, and I think that's to come up with a new genre. I mean, like you were saying, it was like a little film noir. It was a little this. It was, it was a nice amalgamation of good storytelling.
Okay.
What's your
solid 4? Okay. I'm going to go, and you know me, I'm extraordinarily stingy with praise, especially since I started the show. Because I really
started. I know you don't praise me at all anymore.
No. Hold on, let me kick you off this. Let me get you out of the stream right now.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye. All right. I would give it I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think I gave 7 a 4. I said because one time I had sent people out to go get 7 during the days of VHS and they didn't. They're like 7 was missing, but they're like, we got this other movie. We got this, so let's try it. And it was The Usual Suspects.
Oh, there you go.
So that tainted 7 for me right away because even though Kevin Spacey is great,
right?
He's in fucking orbit in The Usual Suspects. So by the time I got to 7, I'm like, okay, but
I'll be honest. I was thinking of 4.5, but I'm like, no, that might be, I go with the 4 on that one. Yeah,
I'd say 4.5. Watching it this time, I fast forwarded through a couple. Like I didn't watch Shigor pick the shrapnel out of his leg. Not because I was gored out, because I was just like, okay, I don't need to watch this for the and I was a little pressed for time. But again, because it has so many genre crossovers.
Yeah.
Because, and this is more Cormac McCarthy than anything else, because like I said, the 3 main characters never meet.
Right.
Because the good guy never catches the bad guy, because the bad guy never defeats the good guy. Because everybody just plays it so fucking well. Even the guys on the bridge, the kids on the bridge, they make you hate them.
Right.
They make you, and this is like a 3-minute fucking scene.
If that.
Yeah, and you just hate these assholes. You're like, fucking scumbags. And so, you're right. It's not a perfect movie. It's not.
But it's close.
It's close.
It's close.
It's close. If this had been a first-time view, I might have gone to 5. But it's not. And I won't be. This isn't a movie you pop in every 2 weeks or anything like that. Maybe a couple of years from now, I'll pop it in again. But I'd say 4.5. When we get to 5, we start talking about The Exorcist. We start talking about Lawrence of Arabia. We start talking about the Titans. We start talking about Ridley Scott's Alien.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, we don't start talking. And good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night.
That was for Rod, in case he's watching.
Yeah, fucking Rod. Hold on a second. We got a couple comments. Do you have a favorite Coen Brothers movie? Not allowing this as your choice. I like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I'm not a huge Coen Brothers fanatic. I know lots of people that are. Blood Simple is really fucking solid because I'm just not that quirky comedy kind of thing. That's not my thing. But they do make great movies.
Yeah, I like the 2 choices you just made. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Not only is it a good movie, but a great soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm sorry, I was in a crowded movie theater with another actor friend of mine and his soon-to-be wife, and it was packed, and we were the only 2 that were laughing at The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
we were howling at it because we knew it was 2 Men from Verona.
Yeah.
He leaned over to me and he goes, "This is 2 Men," and and I'm sorry, John Goodman, his character in that movie,
he was good.
I was like,
everything was about Vietnam.
Yeah, and even what's his face, Jeff Bridges.
Oh yeah.
He was,
That's good.
And I
One
was
of my
lucky
favorite
because I got to talk to Philip Seymour Hoffman. I asked him about it. What was it like being on that set? And he goes, "Way too much fun."
Yeah.
But it was, but I did. I got suckered into it. And I was like, this was a weird ass movie, but I enjoyed it.
That that scene where he's in the cop's office. I don't like your jerk off face.
Yeah.
I don't like your jerk off this. And I don't like you jerk off. And he's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. It's just so fucking perfectly delivered. That's just a perfect fucking scene. And he throws a fucking coffee cup and hits Jeff Bridges right in the head. Ow! You fucking fascist. And he kicks him in the face.
I have so many images of Jeff Bridges. Like when I was younger, when my hair grew long and had the beard, I had a friend of mine walk up and hand me a house coat. He goes, "I'll pay you to walk out."
I want the money. We want the money, Lebowski.
Yeah.
Eric
Raising Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, Raising Arizona is good. Yeah, it's just, it's not, usually does, the Coen brothers, although I respect them and I think that they're great filmmakers, they're usually part of a genre that I'm not crazy about. I'll usually watch it one time and then not come back. This is an example.
Fargo actually surprised me too.
I fucking hate it. Everybody's just so dumb.
Yeah.
And Bill said that's the point of every Coen brothers movie. Everybody's so fucking dumb. And there could be a general,
it could be
collective theme rolling through there where everybody, even in this movie, like we were talking about with Llewellyn, like go to the fucking police, like tap out, fucking tap out, save your wife, they'll come pick up your
get out of here.
Yeah, save your life, get your wife out of there, and just get relocated.
Yeah, you'll fit right in. They take welders.
Yeah. You can do something with your hands. You're gonna do fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
So, was there anything that we missed that you wanted to?
No, I think we pretty much covered all I wanted to cover.
Okay. Same here. It's a phenomenal movie.
If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, it's on HBO right now. It is the only Coen Brothers movie that I actually own, and it is one of many Cormac McCarthy novels that I own, because it gets no better than Cormac.
And I'll be honest, I didn't know it was based on a book. Thank you, Michael.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that at
it's
all.
Just as always, the book is better.
Of course,
the book is better.
Nobody beats your imagination, man.
Yeah, and it's hold on. About 300 pages. It's not a long read. No, it's not a difficult read, but it's just a fascinating fucking story.
Absolutely.
It's really fucking good.
Absolutely.
So I think this is as good a place as any to bring to a close. My thanks to John K. Alvarez, an old man without a country, for stopping in here. We haven't seen him in a while, and we hope to get him back in here sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
That's it for me tonight. Tomorrow, we finish up the week with an interview. And I have an interview tomorrow with Kat Pulver. And Kat Pulver is the widow and life partner of Joe Pulver, who was a famous artist and author who specialized in horror fiction, hard-boiled, and dark fantasy.
Nice.
And I happened to pick up one of his books in preparation for the show, The King of Yellow Tales.
Nice.
And it's really fucking good. And it's going to be a real treat to talk to her about what her experiences were like. She is a friend of Julia Morgan, who I had on last week, I believe, or week before last. And Julia's coming back. All three of us are going to sit down and have ourselves a nice little talk about horror and Joe Pulver and what it's like to be his sort of life partner in practice, as it applies to these stories.
And what time is that, Michael?
That's 11 a.m. tomorrow. Oh, that's a good point. That's 11 a.m. tomorrow because Kat Pulver lives in Germany. So this will be a bit of an international call. And Julia Morgan lives in London. So 11 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a special morning show with this interview. And I couldn't be more excited to pick their brain.
You have no idea because I still kept watching the show when I wasn't on. I'm sitting there going, look at this American Werewolf going international every chance it gets, baby.
I got to tell you, man, the Spider Dabrowski, but then the Julia Morgan interview was really a real big kick for me because she's just so fucking bright. And she has, she's been pointing me into these, different types of horror that are coming out of Europe and, Latin America and Asia that are just so fucking good. And what I realized was that, my complaints against horror largely are about things that are happening in Hollywood.
Right.
There are lots of, it's like the old argument from the 80s and 90s. Julie and I were talking about this, between stadium rock and the indie bands that were slamming the shit out of the club and bar scenes.
Right.
Like the Alice in Chains before they went big. This is like the Ramones. So, horror is doing well, but Hollywood just fucking sucks ass. And, really needs a fucking
they can do it better.
Yeah.
And that's a shame,
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Eric's saying, welcome back, John. And we've missed you a good deal. And that certainly is true.
Thank you, Eric.
You're a great deal on here, man. I'm glad to have you back here. What were we just talking about?
Oh, about Hollywood screwing up movies.
Yeah. If you have, and for anybody who catches this in the replay or if you're in the stream now, if you have Netflix, watch a movie called RRR. 3 R's. That's how it's spelled. It is a 3-hour Indian epic.
Really?
And it is on par with some of the best Hollywood epics I've ever seen. It's a new movie, completely new movie. And I'm watching this because I was going to watch it because I still hear from my friends and they're like, you got to watch this. And if it's over there, you got to watch that. And it's just, I'm watching this thing unfold and I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, why isn't Hollywood doing something like this? And it actually, they have a Hollywood star in it. Ray Stevenson is in it.
Really?
Ray Stevenson is the villain.
Oh, okay.
Because it's set during colonial India. And so Ray Stevenson is the lead British officer. And his wife and their, their army and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
It is a 5-star movie. And you're thinking, I'm watching, this movie and I'm thinking, I go, and then I look at what's coming out of Hollywood and you're like, what the fuck are you people do? Like the creative bankruptcy that's occurring there when other places in the world are putting out 5-star products and just leaving Hollywood with few exceptions because they're all smaller studios that are still doing it and doing it right, but just leaving them in the dust.
It's when the studios, the independent studios or the smaller studios eventually get bought out. When I hear, Paramount picked up, mom and pop show, and I'm going, they're done.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they think of the corporate profit.
Well, I mean, you're looking. Well, yeah, you've got now. Amazon has bought MGM because Bezos wanted to get his hands on James Bond. Right. Disney has bought somebody. I can't remember who bought WB. There are very few. Disney has bought everything.
Right.
There are very few of these, these sorts of production companies that are doing anything worthwhile or that remain independent. And the worst people, the most risk-averse people are the ones that are running them.
Right.
And you're just like, that's not how art. If you disregard the notion that film can be art, then this is your place. You're in the right place at the right time. But if you still aspire to that, we have to go elsewhere. And there are lots of people that are doing it right. But RRR, if you get a chance, John, on Netflix, magnificent.
There are 2 theaters that I worked for that were proud to have in their mission statement is that were for the playwrights, original shows, original things that some people wouldn't get a chance to put on stage. And as somebody said, why? And he said, because they get, how many times can you see Cats? Or how many times can you see Les Mis or The Phantom? But they'll keep chunking them out because money comes in, and for some people, that's what they think.
Yeah, it's maximizing output, but the quality control is just in the fucking toilet.
I know, and it's a shame.
All right, so let's not dwell too much. We've enjoyed this movie though, and we can't recommend it enough. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. with the interviews. My thanks to John K. Alvarez.
Thank you for having me.
I gotta find my outro again, but have a good night, everybody, and I'll get the outro in for the next show.